¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Cosmic Seeking, Alio, Michael Hassler. How's it going, everybody? I found a new PragerU employee, Amala. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that. Claims to be formerly left, now right wing, and a half black woman. Yeah. This is like the classic why I left the left grift. Yeah, I mean, sure. A dime a dozen. A dime a dozen. That's probably gonna get old pretty soon. I don't know how much PragerU and the right wing are gonna be able to milk that. It is indeed Wednesday. We made it to half point, folks. It's almost the weekend. Almost. How's it going, everybody? All right, folks. Let's. You can see the G-Shells for the right has been about 2 years. Oh, okay, so it's not like a new thing? Oh, okay. Alright. Still very cold here. Yeah, it's a brisk. Nice. 49 degrees here, Fahrenheit. Alright, folks, let's get started. We do have a few things to go through. So let's get it started. I think this one is a pretty good place to start. I happened to catch this one on Twitter. Thanks to Alio. I caught this one. This one's... We'll start here. Thank you, Alio. Republicans plan to slash Social Security and Medicare are becoming clearer. We have no choice but to make, hard decisions. Yeah. Okay. Also, oh shoot, I just lost my train of... Oh yeah. Also, just to give a quick thank you, this will be a vote loser for them. I mean, maybe. Just a quick thank you to TYT for giving a massive shout out, and then thank you to all the offline follows that came afterwards. Brookmarks, Mariduff, Trans Vampire, Carmilla, and Billy B. I appreciate those offline follows. Thank you. Okay, so this is the new one. So after attempting to kind of put that on the table, so I guess we'll follow through with the backpedaling. We'll follow through with the backpedaling. So the original idea, which if they had enough support, they would absolutely do it. The original idea that Republicans had was to leverage raising the debt ceiling, essentially threatening to careen the economy into the ground, just to secure cuts to Social Security and Medicare. After being evasive about their plans for entitlement programs like Social Security and Medicare in the months leading up to the midterms, the House GOP has begun to confirm its intention to cut spending on both. That's according to Washington Post Tony Rome, who reported that Republican lawmakers are willing to use the debt ceiling as a bargaining chip in order to get the Biden administration to cave on spending cuts to Medicare and Social Security. Okay, so that's the original plan. That's right, cavers will always cave. Cave and cavers. Trump said 6 days past to leave and don't cut Social Security and Medicare. Yeah, I mean, it's not a good idea. I mean, on paper, it's really not a good idea. Failing to raise the debt ceiling by the summer could cause the U.S. to default on its debt for the first time in history. Excuse me. Consequences of which would be dire. So that's the premise. Of course, quote, we have no choice but to make hard decisions, said Representative Kevin Hern of Oklahoma. Everybody has to look at everything. That's really interesting. I don't know, maybe look at raising taxes for the rich. What about eliminating the wonderful free money that Republicans gave to all the rich folks. Pickmans, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Hope you're having a brilliant day. Thank you. I appreciate that. Congress cannot take a congressional pay cut. Yeah, that's another. There's other ways. Before touching Social Security, and furthermore, Bernie Sanders has given in multiple occasions the solution to Social Security and Medicare, or Social Security in particular. Yeah, Social Security and Medicare. It's to take off the cap. It is inconceivable that, the top percent of people pay the exact same amount as like basically middle class people. It doesn't make any sense. So that's the TLDR. That's the plan. But as of right now, contrary to talk radio, conservatives' government programs are not handouts. Exactly. On Wednesday, today, Virginia Senator Joe Manchin told reporters that Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy has agreed to leave cuts to Medicare and Social Security off the table in the debt ceiling negotiations. This came after the two lawmakers met earlier today raising the debt limit, an issue Democratic and Republican lawmakers have been clashing over recently as they negotiate how to keep the U.S. on top of paying its bills. A source familiar said that with the meeting between Manchin and McCarthy was good, albeit with no commitments. Manchin encouraged McCarthy to negotiate and try to find a path forward that would avoid harming Americans. I mean, while that's true, obviously, A, you're speaking to a Republican, and B, that's really rich coming from Joe Manchin. The U.S. officially reached its debt limit last week, and President Biden's administration has urged House Republicans to work in a bipartisan way to keep the country from defaulting on its obligations and potentially triggering a global financial crisis and recession. But Republicans have expressed their intent to use raising the debt ceiling as a bargaining chip to achieve their own priorities, and previous reports indicated that they were considering cuts to Medicare and Social Security benefits. However, Manchin, who has been a centrist, conservative holdout, he's not a centrist, on some not by the long stretch of the imagination, who has been a centrist holdout on some previous Democratic legislation, said on Sunday that he did not think Republicans should consider Medicare and Social Security in these negotiations. But this is not a guarantee that they won't try to do this. No cuts to anybody that's receiving their benefits. No adjustments to that. They've earned it and they paid into it. Take that off the table. Right. Screw the other generations coming. Screw them instead. Even former President Trump joined the dialogue, urging Republicans in a video message against cutting those programs. Quote, under no circumstances should Republicans vote to cut a single penny from Medicare or Social Security. Cut waste, fraud, and abuse everywhere that we can find it. There is plenty of it. Okay. I don't know what this means. But do not cut the benefits of our seniors worked for and paid their entire lives. Save Social Security, don't destroy it. Okay, so again, if Republicans were actually interested in shoring up Social Security, I mean, the answer to that is, well, at least one way is to lift the cap on the taxes. The benefits have already been paid for by the people who receive them? Yes, that's how that works. Yes, we pay Social Security taxes every paycheck with the understanding that when we retire, though we would be receiving those benefits. And I knew disability and social security lawyers who talked to the government to form savings accounts and more from SSDI checks, and Social Security also form over payments with people that stretch for decades. Yep. McCarthy has not yet publicly commented on his decision with Manchin, but he had previously said that reports of him considering cuts to those programs are not true. I don't believe this. It's still unclear what other types of cuts Republicans are considering in these negotiations. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said on the Senate floor on Monday that the GOP should reveal their intentions to the public, saying that Republicans are talking about draconian cuts. They have an obligation to show Americans what those cuts are and let the public react. Does that mean cuts to Social Security, Medicare, or child care, or Pell Grants? I mean, if it was up to Republicans, actually being forthcoming, yes, if they had the option to, they would gut all these programs. Education, healthcare. Yeah, of course they would gut these programs. Biden is expected to meet with McCarthy regarding these negotiations, but an exact date remains unclear. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told House Republicans that the government has begun using extraordinary measures to keep the country afloat, but those measures are expected to run out at least at some point this summer, meaning that the GOP needs to come to an agreement by then to avoid a catastrophic default. Yeah, cool. I know you are on one side, but the UK and USA policies of economics are scarily identical. Similarly, they both are capitalistic in nature. So, yeah, you're going to see common themes. You're going to see things gravitate towards common themes, yes.
To drought and floods and fires. 2022, from storms to drought and floods and fires. 2022 was a weird year for weather. While the triple La Nina swung itself around the world, causing havoc, climate change definitely impacted the weird weather too, possibly also impacting the triple La Nina as well, since it is such a rare event. Today, we are going to dive into the weird weather of 2022, as well as humanity's attempt to conserve the environment and adapt to the weirder weather that we're getting every year. Hey y'all, it's Becky here from the Beckisphere, where we talk about climate news and solutions. If you would like to stay updated on this very important topic, I highly recommend you hitting that subscribe button below and ringing the bell so you don't miss every single time I post. Today we're going to talk about the extreme weather events that have occurred over 2022, and then finish off with some good adaptation and nature promoting news at the end, so it's not just leaving you on a depressing note. So if you do find that the extreme weather event part of it is too depressing and you don't want to get
well, also on that note, apparently my brother, who is currently doing research in South Florida, we were talking about some of the projects that he's been working on, and one of the projects that he's been working on is mangroves. mangroves, and also documenting sea level rise. So a couple of things. The sea level rise is increasing at a worrying level, at least when it comes to measuring it in the areas that he is measuring it in South Florida, and that particular area. Sea level rise is happening, and it's happening at a very fast rate, at a very uncomfortably fast rate. But he's also studying the effects and the nature of how mangroves work, and apparently, mangroves have a way of adapting to sea level rise. Of course, granted, given enough time to do so, but they do have an adaptation strategy, and that is essentially what the mangroves do: is build the ground instead of how you would think trees. Instead of what trees do, naturally trees try to go down and find the water, but these mangroves, when faced with sea level rise, they build the ground up. Very interesting stuff. So the question will then be, can these mangroves adapt fast enough, depending on, well, the acceleration of the sea level rise? Of course, and another interesting side note about that is that, well, when mangroves do this, it seems like they were incredibly effective at storing carbon. Even more so than the Amazon. So these mangroves are incredibly important for a number of reasons. Do you think DeSantis will get rid of loneliness? I don't know what that even means. How do you get... What does that even mean? DeSantis? First of all, fuck DeSantis. I don't even know why we're bringing him up. Fuck that guy.
All doomeristic. I totally understand. I have timestamps down below, and you can go ahead and skip over to the good adaptation and conservation news.
So
let's go ahead and...
That's what I was kind of breaking off into a tangent about, like adaptation and whatnot. Yeah. Currently, studies show Western countries have widespread mental health struggles and loneliness. Don't give a shit. I don't know what this has to do with DeSantis, is what I'm trying to say. Fuck that guy.
And get right into it.
Also, to be fair, I don't think it's just Western countries.
2022 was tied for the 5th hottest year on record, and the past 8 years have been the Earth's 8 warmest years. So far, the UK, Spain, and France have all determined.
You used to study psychology, so I know think about mental health off... What? So I know... this doesn't make any sense. Yeah, the only reason I brought him up is because I assume he will be the next POTUS. What? What are you on? The primary hasn't even happened, and he's currently double digits, like about 17 points behind Trump in the primary. What?
That 2022 was their hottest year ever. And the UK's Met Office recently determined that the UK's record hot 2022 was made 160 times more likely due to climate change. One area I won't talk about as much, but definitely was impacted this year, was the poles. Both the poles experienced unprecedented ice melt and heat records, in addition to even experiencing wildfires. The poles warm up much faster than the rest of the world. Now let's get into everywhere else in the world and look at each month of weird weather. January.
I just realistically think he'll beat Trump. Not really.
2022
Well,
started out with storms.
that's not where the numbers are at this point. Nor do I think that that's going to be like the case. It might end up being. I don't know.
January
It's
saw
just a weird thing to
massive
say.
winter storm strike the U.S. East Coast, causing 170,000 people to be without power. Meanwhile, Storm Anna hit Africa's east as the second large storm to do so, killing at least 88 people. February. Cyclones continued to ravage Madagascar, killing 214 people. Cyclone Dimoko hit Madagascar on February 15th, just 10 days after Cyclone Batswari wrecked the island earlier. And these storms were
Sheesh.
hitting just weeks after each other. Meanwhile, millions faced hunger in the Horn of Africa due to extreme drought. In Australia, hundreds had to be rescued and thousands evacuated from New South Wales, which was hit by its worst flooding in history. And in the US, the West Coast is hit by a severe megadrought, the most severe in 1,200 years. And to finish off February, the US Central and East Coast was hit by the polar vortex, which triggered a massive 50-degree Fahrenheit temperature drop in the central US, bringing snow,
Sheesh.
ice, and severe storms to the
Yep.
country. March. Tasmania recorded its driest summer in 40 years due to the La Nina, and there was deadly flooding inundating Australia, complete with rain bombs. The Great Barrier Reef was hit by its sixth mass bleaching event, which was particularly rare due to the fact that the La Nina makes the water cooler than average. April. A massive fire erupts near the glaciated area of Pavarti Valley, kind of known as the third pole in the world. India's northwest reeled under unusually early heat waves. Meanwhile, Sydney, Australia asked thousands to evacuate as heavy rains caused flash flooding downtown. South Africa also floods. Its deadliest storm on record kills over 300 people. An attribution study has
Jesus.
already shown that the 2022 South Africa floods were twice as likely due to climate change. In South America, Chile announced unprecedented water rationing as the drought enters its 13th year. And the fire in New Mexico begins, killing an elderly couple and destroying more than 200 homes. Thousands flee as a wildfire also rips through Arizona, almost tripling in size. Meanwhile, it's determined that April hit new records for Amazon deforestation in Brazil. And in Asia, dozens were killed in the Philippines due to landslides and flooding as Tropical Storm Meggy hit. May.
Sheesh. It's
The
so
world's oceans
difficult.
became the most acidic in 26,000
Yikes, that's pretty alarming. Yikes. Yeah, like a lot of these climate events, it's so hard to keep track. Some of these I didn't even hear about. That's so hard. There's so many events.
years, according to a new climate change report. New Delhi, India recorded its highest ever temperature at 49 degrees Celsius. Pakistan
Sheesh.
also experiences extremely high temperatures and is now flooding. China and Hong Kong brace for record-breaking rainfall. Meanwhile, in Iraq, thousands are sickened and one dead after sandstorms hit one after another. Dust storms also take over the Midwest, likening the area to that of the Dust Bowl in the 1930s. New Mexico's wildfire grows to be the state's largest in U.S. history after combining with another fire. Texas starts shattering heat records as temperature reaches 112 degrees Fahrenheit. The U.S. as a whole ends up falling into a heat wave that brings historically high temperatures to dozens of states. And in South America, Brazil experiences deadly floods, killing at least 57 people. In Europe, French towns see a new May heat record, and Andalusia in Spain prepares.
No, dude. Your initial statement is noted, although it's kind of weird framing. Yes, we're all having an uptick of mental health. Yes. Thank you. We know.
For its earliest heat wave on record. June. Carbon dioxide levels are at the highest in human history. Famine rises in Somalia as rain just doesn't come. Meanwhile, flood alerts are issued for more torrential rain to fall in China. China is really confused weather-wise at this point because it's hit by rainfall resulting in flooding, but other parts of China are experiencing heat waves or even tornadoes. The northeastern province of China reaches a record temperature of 44.2 degrees Celsius. In Japan, Tokyo hits its worst June heat wave since 1875.
Wow.
In Singapore, dengue fever cases skyrocket, and experts blame climate change. Meanwhile, in India and Bangladesh, at least 59 people die as flooding slowly gets worse. In Europe, almost all of Portugal is under severe drought. Spain, France, Norway, and Italy are all experiencing historic June heat waves. Wildfires ignite due to this drought and heat in Spain, Germany, and Turkey. In the US, Yellowstone gets an unprecedented rainfall, forcing closed entrances and stranding tourists. The US undergoes another stifling heat wave. San Antonio had 70 of triple-digit heat in June. The norm is 2 days. The federal government tells the Colorado River states that they need to drastically cut down on their water usage as the Colorado River and its tributaries reach record lows. Wildfires rush through Alaska, breaking new records. And overall, this was the Earth's third hottest June ever. July. Sydney beats New South Wales records for flooding, while in Europe, Spain swelters as temperatures soar in another heat wave. Spain and Portugal reach the worst drought in 1,200 years, just like the US West. And France braces for its hottest days on record too. Fires ignite in the UK as soon as it passes 40 degrees Celsius for the first time ever. The heat wave eventually reaches Poland and Greece, and then the Swiss Alpines, where the freezing point reaches record heights. Glaciers start melting. In Italy, one glacier collapses, killing 7 people. In Kyrgyzstan, more glaciers collapse. The deadly heat wave also strikes China, while Pakistan continues to flood. The rain just won't stop. In the US, NASA reveals photos of Lake Mead, which is one of the lakes coming out of the Colorado River, and it's at its lowest point since 1937, which was when the lake was originally filled. Heat also takes over the Pacific Northwest, where people don't have access to air conditioning, and the Washburn Fire in Yosemite threatens ancient sequoias.
Yes, I remember this.
Rainfall causes flash floods in places like St. Louis, which broke a century-old record. 8 died in Kentucky from flash floods. In Brazil, the Amazon deforestation records another record for the first half of 2022. And in Africa, more than 200 people die as droughts ravage northeastern Uganda. August. At least 24 people have died from flash flooding now in Uganda, because after the drought, rain came, but not in a good way. At least 38 people were killed by a tornado of fire in northern Algeria. In Europe, Zoe became the world's first named heat wave, as one town in Spain decides to start naming heat waves like hurricanes. France and Spain suffered the most serious drought on record. Meanwhile, the Dutch government declared a water shortage due to drought. Rivers start to shrink. The Rhine River, the River Thames, and the River Loire all reached record.
Those photos, we covered this too. Those photos of that river in France, holy yikes. That is pretty stark, to say the least. Yeah.
Parts of Spain catch fire, forcing 1,500 people to evacuate. Wildfires in Europe burned the second biggest area on record, as the drought in Europe is the worst in 500 years. Meanwhile, heavy rain causes deadly flooding across Iran, and Afghanistan also experiences flash flooding that kills at least 20 people. The death toll in Pakistan's floods now reach over 900 people, a third of which are children. In Asia, thousands are ordered to evacuate in Japan after record rainfalls triggered floods and mudslides. Flooding also impacts part of China, killing at least 16. China's Yangtze River, though, runs dry, like many of those in Europe, as temperatures reach scorching levels. China issued its first national drought alert, as many of the agriculture industries struggle from extreme heat. In South America,
Yikes.
Brazil, the Amazon rainforest now sees its worst August fires in over a decade. All
True. No need to worry, folks. It's not like, we need water or anything like that.
these wildfires are human caused. And in the US, 100 million people are under heat warnings. Again, wildfires perk up in Texas, Nebraska, and California. And the US high tide flooding breaks records in many locations. 1,000 people become stranded in Death Valley National Park after flooding due to unusual rainfalls. Flash flooding also occurs in Mississippi, inundating streets and prompting rescues. Torrential rainfalls are also felt all the way across the world in New Zealand. September. New Zealand officially has its warmest winter on record for the third straight year. Meanwhile, Australia continues to experience heavy rainfalls, this time on the east coast. In Europe, water levels continue to decline in the Rhine River in Germany, reaching record lows. In Asia, Hong Kong saw its record for September heat waves broken twice. 9 million people were told to evacuate in Japan as super typhoon Nemodal hit. Meanwhile, Typhoon Noru aimed for Vietnam after hitting the Philippines. And Hurricane Fiona ripped through powerless Puerto Rico that was still recovering from Hurricane Maria several years ago. Later, Fiona unusually hits the Atlantic Canada. Typhoon Merbok rips through Alaskan tribal communities, causing food insecurity. And towards the end of the month, Hurricane Ian appears, dashing any hopes that this year's hurricane season wouldn't amount to much. It strengthens to a Category 4 in the unusually warm Gulf. Rising temperatures break more than 1,300 records in the U.S. amid a severe heat wave. And back to Pakistan, the death toll now reaches 1,500 people due to the floods. In Africa, Nigeria also battles floods beyond control as dams threaten to overflow. In South America, mountain glaciers in Chile's Patagonia collapse due to high temperatures. Fires continue in Brazil, surging in September for the worst month since 2010. The summer of 2020 ends up being tied for the hottest on record, according to NASA. And again, we're in a La Nina, which is supposed to be cooler than average. October. Scotland is snow-free for the fourth time in 6 years. Meanwhile, Sydney records its wettest year since 1858 as Australia braces for more floods. Alaska cancels its snow crab season for the first time ever after its population completely collapses. Barges are stranded in the Mississippi River as water levels reach critical low. The Pacific Northwest of the U.S. shatters its heat records for October. In Central America, 28 die as Hurricane Julia strikes the area. The United Nations sounds the alarm for Pakistan, upping its flood aid appeal as the second wave of death comes in the form of waterborne illnesses. Some Chinese cities break their October heat records as other parts of China begin to shiver due to the cold.
Wild. Too bad Biden doesn't care. It's true. Still allows oil drills and didn't ban fracking. Also true. Sanders would have done it differently. Yeah, I mean, I would agree that I would agree that Bernie Sanders would have tried to do things differently. I think Bernie Sanders would have at least made more effort. Yes, I would agree with that statement.
Storm Nalgi floods and causes landslides in the Philippines that kill at least 72 people. And in Africa, Chad declares a state of emergency as flooding affects 1 million people. November. Flash flooding continues in Australia's southeast, cutting off inland towns. Meanwhile, the UK records its warmest Armistice Day ever for England, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. December. Major winter storms threaten to upend the holiday season on the U.S. central and east coast. Meanwhile, a drought emergency is declared for all of Southern California. And at least 141 people die in Congo after floods hit its capital. And that was the weird weather of 2022. Overall, hurricanes and floods and other extreme weather events bring $120 billion of insurance losses globally, according to Munich Re, making it one of the costliest years for extreme weather events ever.
That's wild. 120 billion just in 1 year alone. The cost per year that could be rerouted to attempt to mitigate and adapt and get off of fossil fuels is cheaper than continuing to take losses like this that only will get worse. Just doesn't make any sense as to why we aren't moving on this. Mayhem Hippie, how's it going? Sanders, Sanders, Maple Leaf Dragon, Sanders would have begun to start the ball rolling, but Congress still controls the purse. Yes, that is true.
In the U.S. specifically, 2022 cost the U.S. $165 billion, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric
Grab a beverage,
Administration.
snack, and
5
pop
of the
some
last
headphones
6
in.
years
Thank you for
has
the lurk.
cost the U.S. over $100 billion due to extreme weather. Okay, now let's get into some conservation and adaptation news of 2022. One trend is that Indigenous people seem to get more respect and more land back than before. In the US, land was given to Native American tribes to either help conserve or to just exist on. Earlier in the year, the world also negotiated a historic treaty on plastic pollution for the countries to have an agreement in place by 2024 to reduce plastic pollution and production. New nature protections were put in place, particularly in South America, with Ecuador expanding its sea life protections around the Galapagos Islands, the new Honduras government banning open pit mining, Panama enacting rights of nature law, which guarantees the natural world's rights to exist, persist, and generate. And Colombia became the first country in the Western Hemisphere to protect 30% of its oceans. Speaking of the 30 by 30, which is to conserve 30% of lands and waters by 2030, China announced that it would protect 1/3 of its land under a new ecological red line scheme. And at the very end of the year, negotiators during COP15, which is the UN Biodiversity Conference that took place in Canada and was hosted by China, reached a historic deal to protect nature, with 190 countries signing on to the 30 by 30 rule. The United States was not one of them because of a divided Congress. The draft also calls for raising $200 billion by 2030 for biodiversity from a range of sources and working to phase out or reform subsidies that could provide another $500 billion for nature. The framework also called for increasing to at least $20 billion annually by 2025 for particularly poor countries to help with their conservation goals. That number would then increase to $30 billion each year by 2030. Currently, only 17% of terrestrial and 10% of marine areas are protected around the world. The 30 by 30 plan and the historic deal also recognize the importance of Indigenous rights and their role in protecting the environment. The vast majority of wild spaces still in existence around the world are in Indigenous land. Even though the U.S. did not sign on to this agreement, many states did, like California, Maine, Hawaii, New York, and New Mexico. The European Union signed a new law to tackle deforestation in its supply chains in and out of the country. Companies will be required to have a certificate showing that they don't encourage deforestation. Kenya's new president has a PhD in forestry and plans to completely renew Kenya's natural forests and reduce its CO2 footprint. He set a goal to plant 15 billion trees in just the next decade to fight desertification. During COP27, which was the big UN climate conference that took place in Egypt in November, Brazil's new president got Indonesia and the Democratic Republic of the Congo to agree to a rainforest conservation protection pact, those three countries holding the largest share of rainforest in the world. A Norway-backed fund was also brought back to help protect the Amazon rainforest starting early this year. COP27 also saw more interest in establishing a global early warning system, with many countries pledging to help work on that, specifically for poorer countries, as it can drastically decrease death tolls. But the main thing had to do with loss and damage funding, with many countries pledging to support loss and damage financing for poor countries to help them adapt to worsening extreme weather events. There was also talk of reforming the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank to better support developing countries during those extreme events without them becoming heavily indebted to those institutions. as they already are. So those were some positive things to come out of this year having to do with adaptation and conservation, and hopefully we will continue to see more of this positive trend in the future. And that was your 2022 extreme weather event adaptation conservation recap. Let me know all of your thoughts about the extreme weather and everything down below. If you experienced any of it, if I missed any of the events, definitely comment down below. Until next time, remember to talk about the climate crisis every single day and to support your local news organizations. Thank you so much to the people on Patreon who help support me and my fur baby Rue.
Wait. Wait a second. We didn't get a fun fact about Rue. And now I'm sad. Anyways, folks, go like, comment, subscribe, do the thing. Shifting gears, let's do this one. Surprised she wasn't pouring herself whiskey shots by the end of the video. True. What's the next topic? Pair of lawsuits kick off state-federal battle over abortion pills. We've been following this as it's attempting to catch ground across the country. Republicans, of course, are continuing their authoritarian plans, and they're trying to go after the pill. A widely anticipated legal battle over whether federal policies supersede state law began Wednesday with a pair of lawsuits seeking to stop restrictions on abortion pills in 2 states. The challenges targeting laws in North Carolina and West Virginia that block patients from receiving abortion pills by mail or from retail pharmacies, or ban the use of the pills entirely, will likely have national implications, as more than a dozen states that have imposed laws limiting how, when, and where patients can obtain abortion pills. Of course, these are Republicans, brought to you by the same party, who cries about big government. Both cases make the argument that federal policies, not state laws, should determine access to abortion medicine. While the case only asks that the laws be suspended, wins for challengers could embolden doctors or advocacy groups to target other states' restrictions on the medication. The case comes as both supporters and opponents of the right to terminate a pregnancy are increasingly focusing on abortion pills, which recently became the most popular method of abortion in the United States and a common way patients are circumventing state ban on the procedure. Right, because, like, it's not a freaking procedure. It's not a freaking procedure if all you have to do is take 2 pills. It just doesn't make any sense. Hopefully, Big Pharma abortion pill producers are suing back, telling them to stop effing with the profits. That's a whole other problem in and of itself. That's a whole other problem in and of itself. We have a very red-orange ish party, legislative party here. Sheesh. The cases come as both supporters and opponents of the right to terminate a pregnancy are increasingly focused on the pills. Yeah, anyways, this is bullshit. Did you know that under Lenin, Soviet Russia became the first country to legalize abortion? Let's see. Yeah, sure, whatever. It's on Wikipedia. Yeah, I mean, that might be true. The cases both, yes, anti-abortion advocates and their allies in state and federal office are pushing more states to adopt laws like North Carolina's, including states that already have near total bans, hoping to prevent patients from ordering the pills online. I know hyper-conservative Iran legalized and encouraged birth control a few decades ago. Yeah. Pretty sure that Republicans, if they feel so emboldened as to ban, or if they get their way and manage somehow, I don't think it's going to be... I don't know if it's possible, but if they somehow manage to ban abortion pills, then I think that they could go after birth control. They've signaled this numerous times. And of course, contraception would probably fall under, the next steps. The North Carolina case filed in a federal district court in Greensboro challenges the state's law requiring that abortion pills may only be provided in person by a physician in a certified surgical facility. But it's not a surgery, though. Like, this is how you know this is bullshit. Why would you need to get something like a simple pill at a surgical facility? This is how you know it has nothing to do with anything. It doesn't make any sense. After a mandatory counseling session and a 72-hour waiting period. Jesus Christ. Eva Temkin, the lead attorney in the suit, said those restrictions are hampering physicians, including her client, Amy Bryant, as they attempt to serve patients in the state and those coming from other southeastern states that have implemented near-total bans on abortion since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade last summer. Yeah. The restrictions in North Carolina that put our plaintiff and medical providers generally are grappling with have created a lot of inflexibility and inefficiency. Since the Dobbs decision, there has been a significant increase in number of patients needing abortion care, and these rules simply impose unnecessary delays and travel costs. Because of these restrictions, providers can't see the number of patients they'd like to see, for instance, by telehealth. Again, this is because the point is, control. The GOP seems to hung up on this because they're trying to prevent, white genocide. True. I often wonder why DeSantis is anti-abortion. He seems to be very family-oriented and handsome. That has nothing to do with political positions. What the fuck are you on about, dude? Because he's a Republican. Conservatives are authoritarian by definition. They don't believe in the right to bodily autonomy. I don't give a shit what he looks like. And he's not very family-oriented, is he? It's kind of suspect, my dude. You're acting kind of suspect. Yeah, you're kind of acting it. Anyways. TLDR, fuck DeSantis. I don't give a shit about him. Because the spokesperson for Democratic Attorney General Josh Stein, who recently announced his bid for governor, told Politico the office is reviewing the lawsuit, declining to comment further. The case has echoes of a previous legal fight between the FDA and Massachusetts over the state's effort to restrict an opioid medication. Temkin noted a battle in which the federal rules prevailed. It's a well-settled principle that a state can't implement a policy that conflicts with and frustrates the objectives of a federal law. Right, that's the whole point of a federal law. The FDA lifted the in-person dispensing requirement for the drugs in 2021, at first for the just for the duration of the COVID pandemic, and then permanently, and determining that the pills were safe to prescribe via telemedicine. Yeah, no shit. You just take the pills and that's it. There's nothing to it, really. There's nothing to it. And send by mail, the agency loosened its rule for the medication again earlier this month, allowing them to just be dispensed by certified retail pharmacies to patients with prescription. There you go. Boom. In West Virginia, GenBioPro, the company that manufactures a generic version of abortion pills, is arguing in federal court, hey, this is exactly what you were talking about, Maple Leaf Dragon. The company itself that manufactures the generic version of the abortion pill is arguing in federal court that the state cannot impede the regulation or sale of a federally approved medication without violating the Supremacy and Commerce Clause of the Constitution. The drug maker's lawsuit also challenges the state previous restrictions on the medication abortion, including a ban on telehealth prescription of the drug mifepristone. Never going to be able to pronounce that. And those restrictions were superseded by the September 2022 prohibition on the procedure at all stages of the pregnancy. The case argues that, yay, capitalism. Ah. Unexpected W. Including a ban on the case that the case argues that West Virginia's restrictions are harming both patient and pharmaceutical companies and step on the toes of federal law that protect access to the medication. West Virginia passed an extreme ban that tries to step in the shoes of the FDA to make regulatory determinations, said Sky Perryman, the president of the progressive advocacy group Democracy Forward, and the attorney representative GenBioPro in the case. In this case, in an interview with Politico, the company is committed to challenging this kind of unlawful state overreach. West Virginia's Republican Attorney General Patrick Morrissey said in a statement on Wednesday that he will defend the state's abortion restrictions to the fullest. Yeah, get fucked. While it may not sit well with the manufacturers of abortion drugs, right, this is what I don't understand. You can't be praising capitalism and you can't be the party of deregulation and sit there and try to do the exact same thing. It's super hypocritical. But, it's the Republican Party, so I guess, because West Virginia legislators populated by the world's smartest medical researchers. True. While it may not sit well with manufacturers of abortion drugs, the U.S. Supreme Court has made it clear that regulating abortion is a state issue. I will stand strong for the life of the unborn. The life of the unborn, but they're unborn. Okay. And will not relent in our defense of this clearly constitutional law. Carpet Packs, how's it going? Yeah, good for me, but not for thee. Exactly. That's exactly how that works. That is exactly how that works. Meanwhile, the anti-abortion groups which have filed a lawsuit in Texas in November are challenging... Oh yeah, this is the one that we went over. Meanwhile, the anti-abortion groups which filed a lawsuit in Texas in November are challenging the FDA's 2-decade-old approval of the abortion pill mifepristone, a case that could halt its access nationwide. Anti-abortion groups are also mounting a campaign to pressure Walgreens and CVS pharmacies not to carry the drugs in states where they are legally allowed to do so, with lawsuits, protests, and boycotts planned for the coming weeks. Also, they care deeply for the unborn because they're inside a person they want to control. Once they're born, they're on their own. Exactly. It's also like a cheap facade of attempting to have the moral high ground, right? Because like it's like this crappy veneer of righteous whatever bullshit protecting the unborn, pro-life, like, yeah. It's never been about babies, it's always been about owning women. Exactly. Yep. Anti-abortion groups are also mounting a campaign to pressure Walgreens and CVS pharmacies to not carry the drugs and say, like, this is what I don't understand. I mean, like, obviously, the answer to that is exactly what chat said. It's not about protecting the unborn. And making life miserable for people who don't think like them. Yep. Over the weekend marking, yeah. So, anyways, like the point being is like, you know, these are the the culture war, anti-cancel culture warriors or whatever bullshit. Yeah, cool. Over the weekend marking what would have been the 50th anniversary of Roe v. Wade, President Biden signed a memo directing his health secretary to consider new guidance to support patients, providers, and pharmacies who wish to legally access, prescribe, or provide mifepristone no matter where they live. All right, switching gears. Can you be pro-abortion and simultaneously support surrogacy? What? I mean, theoretically, yeah, I guess, but yeah, being pro-abortion, you mean being pro-choice and support surrogacy? Yeah, the whole point of the pro-choice idea is that you get to choose. You get to choose your own, whatever it is that you want to do with your own body. It's that simple. Correct. It's not mutually exclusive. Yes. um it has nothing to do with one another. You can simultaneously believe they're not even in the same world, I think. You can simultaneously believe that surrogacy is okay and abortion is also okay. Because it is. It's your choice. I find it interesting in states like Florida, in which strict on abortion is very surrogacy friendly. Okay. I don't know what that has to do with one or the other. Anywho. Let's do a meme. Meme story. Oh. Huh. Breaking. Apparently Facebook and Instagram have unbanned Trump from their platforms. Good memes. Anyways, Marjorie Taylor Greene aims to be Trump's VP. Yep. Representative Marjorie Greene is angling to be Trump's running mate. Ha! Not a shot. Not a shot she will be picked. Can we just start calling them the Janus Party?
Please clap.
Did you see her committee assignment? Yes, she's in the national what is it? The Homeland Security committee or something like that, the Homeland Security or some kind of committee like that. No, what? What? COVID stuff? Oh, shoot. Because I know she got a committee assignment for Homeland Security. I know she got a committee assignment for Homeland Security. The 9/11 denier assigned to Homeland Security Committee. Satire is dead. True. Tulsi Gabbard has a higher chance. No. Tulsi Gabbard. Nah. No. I'm honored to serve on the select subcommittee on the COVID pandemic. Consequently, it's also the pandemic that I don't think it's true. It's time to reveal the truth on the oranges of. Oh God, I have to laugh. I have to laugh. On the origins of COVID, the authoritarian democratic response, vaccines and Fauci, NIA involvement of gain and function research. God help us all. True. All right. Yeah, it pretty much sums it up. This response pretty much sums it up. Yeah. Looks like you're right, Carpe. It's true. Yeah. Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, I mean, like, Marjorie Taylor Greene also, on numerous occasions, has been found in association with, you know, Nazis. Can we just agree with her about the origin of COVID and ask what's next? Are we going to cancel China from the world? True. Just tuning in. I have a quick question. Is there a problem to the government looking into the COVID response and Dr. Fauci? Depending on the reasons and the premise, no. In a vacuum, but it's the Republican Party, so I don't trust their I don't trust that we're dealing with good faith people here. We have the best cringe distilled, concentrated, and hermetically sealed for your enjoyment. True. What's your opinion on her anti-war takes? What anti-war takes? You mean like reducing like the amount of aid to Ukraine? I don't know if I would call that anti-war takes. I really hope I can make my move to Thailand work, because I don't want to be here when the U.S. government goes full fash. Godspeed, Graylio. I hope, if you can, Godspeed. Yeah, they want to cancel China. Don't encourage them. True. China. Thinking they're so anti-democratic, they went pro-Russia. Yep. This is no shrinking violet. She's ambitious. And, you know, consistently palling around with Nazis. Also vying to be the president's VP, who, coincidentally, Trump has also been palling around and had dinner and meetings with Nazis. Yeah, like Nick Fuentes. Cool. I totally understand that, but the Democrats have also done their own investigations with their narrative. Wait, what investigations? Whoa, what investigations? Both sides is bullshit, okay? It's not even to the same degree, okay? It's not even a comparison. As a senator, she followed and harassed a mass shooting survivor. Yep. The best people. I picked the best people. Yeah, true, dude. True. One party decides to encourage insurrectionary behavior, and till this day, in 2023, continues to engage in election denialism. Yeah, dude. Same thing. Same thing. I'm just curious how it's different. You haven't even answered my question. What are you talking about when you say, quote, but the Democrats have also done their own investigation? What does that mean? What does that mean? Both parties are corrupt? Sure. If she does become the VP candidate, the Dems might get a veto-proof majority in both houses as well as the presidency. Ah. Well then. Yeah, I think so, Carpe. I'm going fishing. I'm doing a little fishing expedition. Me thinks that's where we're heading. She sees herself on the short list for Trump's VP, paraphrasing Cokie Roberts when MTG looks in the mirror. Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm trying so hard to not call her MTG, because that's Magic the Gathering, and Magic the Gathering is a fun card game, and I'm not gonna let that fascist ruin Magic the Gathering. Fuck her. So when Marjorie Taylor Greene looks in the mirror, she sees a potential president smiling back. Oh man, the narcissism. Total clown. The late political reporter who works for NPR, NBC News, and other outlets. A second source who has advised Green said her whole vision is to be vice president. The source, who has ties to Trump but spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe private conversations, said he also believes that Green would be on Trump's short list. I mean, again, they're both, they're both, you know, far right. They're both, they're both, they both have been palling around with Nazis. I mean, yeah. Over the last couple of years while in control, they created their own committee assignments to investigate Trump. Yeah, no shit. Because Trump was being fucking suspect as shit. There was a reason for that. Okay? That's what my original point was. It depends on the grounds. Okay? If you're doing some bad faith investigations over bullshit, which Republicans are planning to do, it is different than, say, when the former president was being investigated for numerous things that he's done. An example would be the January 6th insurrection. So, no, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. So you think Trump was suspect? Do you not think Fauci is suspect? Provide evidence of that. Quite frankly, like, it's very different if the Democratic Party was investigating Trump for, you know, behaving in that manner. Mainly, example would be inciting insurrections. That would be one. Yeah. Yeah. You're just asking questions. Yeah, I know. You're just asking questions to get better understanding. True. Yeah, it's dishonest to frame these things as equally bad. They're not. Okay? There are valid problems with the Democratic Party. There are legitimate problems with the Democratic Party. But to equate both parties as equally bad is completely dishonest. Is completely dishonest. My point was that having her on the ticket would make the GOP so toxic the election would swing massively to the Dems. You think so? Maybe. The January 6th Commission also had many Republicans on it. Well, the January 6th Commission had two, didn't it? Like the main body. Comparing Trump to Fauci is not a good faith argument. They're nothing like. That's also true. But I think that, in fairness, I don't think that they were making the comparison of Trump and Fauci. I think they were trying to make the false equivalency that both parties are equally bad, and use the same tactics. But when in reality, it's not comparable in terms of like how bad one is compared to another. Yeah, both parties are bad, but not equally. Yeah. Yeah, like both parties are bad, but only one party is like completely fundamentally incompatible with democracy, and like not even close. Not even remotely close. It's more trying to understand how we're supposed to determine what's the right thing to investigate. It depends. It depends. The two-party system is rigged. The two-party system is bullshit. Thankfully, Greens are more family-oriented. I don't know what family-oriented is. I don't know what that means. I'd never seen that. And plus, the Greens are practically, for all intents and purposes, fucking useless here. There's a large sleeping minority of voters who are unaffiliated, plus the next round of young millennials will be voting for the first time, and the young are increasingly politically aware lately. That's good. I've heard people say that we're not a democracy, we're a constitution. Yeah, this is obvious. There's a difference between the two. Yes, words. We're not a direct democracy. No shit. Unions should start funding Greens so that they can get elected. No. The Green Party is useless here. The Green Party is useless. Unless you have a mechanism in place to where a third party starts becoming viable, we can't even talk about that. So unless you're trying to support something like ranked choice voting or anything like that to try to kind of attempt to break the duopoly, it's wasted effort. And plus, the Green Party here, I don't know about that. That goes at the heart of Green's recent efforts to rebrand herself. Rebrand herself? Oi! Marjorie Taylor Greene has not attempted to rebrand herself in any way, shape, or form. Who wrote this? The argument that the young will vote is mute, that has been said for 6 years. Also, half the population does not vote. Yeah, but I would agree with the point that the younger generation is becoming more active in terms of like actually getting out there, more so than normal. At least that's what happened. To rebrand herself as a politician who can stand astride the divide between the party's hardliners and its establishment wing. This is a weird way of like framing like the fascistic element of the Republican Party that is currently basically taking a hold of the whole damn thing. That's a really weird way of phrasing that. But okay, NBC. Sure. Whatever. It also helps explain why she threw herself into helping elect Representative McCarthy Speaker of the House after the midterm election and took assignments on 2 committees, Homeland Security and Oversight and Accountability, where she can participate in high-profile investigations of President Biden's administration. Ah, yes. High-profile investigations. Investigating the true topics that are really important to the American people, like, you know, Hunter Biden's dong. The young needs to prove they will turn out to vote before politicians will take them seriously. Yeah, but I was trying to understand the difference. You just said, no shit, we're not a direct democracy. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. If we are not a direct democracy, then how does the argument about protecting democracy be valid? Because just because it's not like... Even in a constitutional republic, there are still semblances and certain democratic processes that are in place. if a party is out there subverting an election is by definition a very, very core, like it is a core element of a democracy, right? Like regardless of what you want to call it, a constitutional republic, whatever. Democratic systems or democratic societies have elections. Okay? And if you have a party that is till this day, this is 3 years in the making. 3 years. Continuing to attack whatever semblance of those democratic systems. Yes, I can make the statement the Republican Party is fundamentally incompatible with democracy. Yes, they don't belong in a democratic system. Can you blame her for wanting to investigate Hunter Biden's dong? I'd investigate the hell out of his dong. Yeah, that's a good point, Sneaky Elbow. You make a very good point. You make a very good point. Maybe that's what they really want to investigate. Her push for McCarthy alienated some of her allies in the House Freedom Caucus and like-minded conservative activists. Again, what the hell? These are far right. These aren't conservative activists. But whatever. Sure, NBC. But it was a calculated risk according to Steve Bannon. Sorry, according to Bannon. I'm like... Wait, did he say... Was this Steve Bannon or what? Who? Wait, according to Bannon. Wait. This doesn't tell me. Was this like Steve Bannon? Are they referring? I don't know. Are you American? What kind of a weird question is that? Am I American? That's a weird question. Are you American citizen? No, I'm a difficult truth. I'm trying to learn what's wrong with that. Should we not help people understand, or should we be telling them this is not... dude, this is like some like civility politics, dude. This is hilarious. Whatever. True, do your own research. Wait, no. Don't tell that to... Don't tell him to do his own research. Oh, man. We're out here trying to figure out, questions like, what is democracy? No, no. Do your own research. It's a good meme. I don't identify as American. I'm just a human stuck in the U.S. against my will.
Please clap.
You need to have more open mind. I have the most open mind of all. And given the fact that, like, you're all still here. Trump has not publicly given any indication that he's seriously considering a vice presidential pick this early in the process, and aides did not respond to NBC News inquiries about Green's chance of ending up on a Trump ticket. No shot. No shot. You almost banned me for praising a politician being handsome? Yeah. I warned you about that. I had no influence over who my parents were and where they live. I am unfortunately American. Every other leftist streamer here is American, and I don't think it's good. Wait, what do you mean you don't think it's good? What does that mean? What does that mean? Every other leftist streamer here is American, and I don't think it's good. I don't know what that means. It means that the process is not global because of checks notes. Twitch streamers? Yeah, dude. When I look at when I evaluate a movement, the first thing I do is take a tally, as to who's streaming on Twitch. True. True. The first thing that I do when I evaluate like a movement is take a tally on Twitch. Just move? Damn, dude, what a privileged answer. What a freaking privileged answer. Just move. Yeah. Damn, why didn't I think of that? Pretty sure those who came here couldn't afford it either, but they did to make a choice. Wait, what? This makes no sense. This is a pretty ignorant and privileged position to be like, yeah, dude, just move. Just figure it out, bro. Just figure it out, bro, because X did, so why can't you? Yeah, it's bullshit. It's a variation of oppression Olympics and bootstraps. Other people moved to the country with nothing. Why don't you? Yeah. It's a very like privileged and obviously ignorant answer. Congresswoman Green is laser focused on serving the people of Northwest Georgia on her new committees in the GOP majority. Yeah. Green spokesman said Nick Dyer, her work on oversight, Homeland Security, and COVID Select Committee is her priority, and people shouldn't get wrapped up into rumors. So these are rumors, but they're not. But she's ambitious. Trump and his two-time running mate, former President Mike Pence, had a falling out over Pence passing an attempt to overturn the, election And Trump's refusal to immediately call off supporters who ransacked the Capitol and searched for Pence, and chanted for him to be hanged on the insurrection in January 6th. That's why everyone is coming here. True, everybody's coming here. True, dude. True, dude. Everyone's coming here because it's because it isn't expensive. You know, the people who have no other choice, who have literally been forced to leave, to pick up and leave. Wait, do you support the Democratic Party over the Republican Party? Yes. Yes. Over, if my choice is the Democratic Party over the Republican Party, or the Republican Party, yes, I'm going to vote against the Republican Party, 100%. I mean, purely, no. I don't prescribe to a single party. Do your political views align with the Democratic Party? No, I'm probably much more left to the Democratic Party. I'm probably to the left of the Democratic Party, yes. How left are you? As left as left can get. What does that even matter? I prescribe to policies, true. The Democratic Party is like Diet Republican Party. Yeah, true. I'm so far left. I just swung around and I'm right wing actually. Libs are low empathy and the GOP is no empathy. There you go. Yo, come on. Mind the TOS. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Anyways. Trump, the only announced 2024 candidate for president in either party, has struggled to get his campaign off the ground since launching in November. He plans to travel Saturday to New Hampshire and South Carolina, the two early primary states, and he remains the favorite to win the GOP nomination. Yes, I saw that. Cosmic Seeking. Yeah, he was allowed officially back on Facebook and Instagram. And he remains the favorite to win the GOP nomination in national polling. Over the course of two campaigns for Congress and a little more than 2 years into the House, Green has become one of the chamber's most prodigious money raisers, one of its high-profile figures, and a pariah to many of her colleagues. Yes. It just goes to show. if this is who you consider in your party the most prodigious money raisers and high profile, the far right candidate who is Buddy, who has been seen on multiple occasions with fucking Nazis, yeah, that's not a good sign. In the 2022 midterm election cycle, Green collected just short of 12.5 million, a total that placed her in the top 10 of all House candidates, according to the Center for Responsive Politics Open Secrets. Open Secrets tally. Her penchant for bombastic rhetoric, just a bombastic rhetoric, like how if she had planned the insurrection with Steve Bannon, she would have won and she would have brought guns. Bombastic rhetoric is at the root of her both superior fundraising and skills and her alienation of fellow lawmakers. Trump voters have reveled in her ability to agitate Washington establishment and progressives. So yeah, basically translation, the only thing that matters is triggering the libs. What would you do if coup is successful in U.S. and what do you think people would do? I have no idea. Let's stop pretending MTG isn't a full-blown Nazi herself. I'm not joking or exaggerating. I mean, she seems to hang out with a lot of, Nazis. Fundraising skills means money like fascists. Yep. But her tolerance for violent rhetoric about Pelosi, Representative Pelosi, and her embrace of conspiracy theories involving Jewish space lasers, starting a California wildfire, and Muslim congresswomen not being legitimately sworn in were too extreme for some lawmakers in both parties. Some lawmakers in both parties. Clearly, some is in the minority because she is a powerhouse in the party. She is a rock star in the Republican Party. In February 2021, the House, then controlled by Dems, voted to remove Green from the legislative committees as punishment for conduct that she has exhibited, and fellow lawmakers found detrimental to the reputation of Congress. 11 Republican moderates also joined all the Democrats in voting to strip her of her seats on the Budget Committee and the Committee of Education and Labor. Jesus. McCarthy stood by Green at the time, facilitating the development of a political alliance with Republicans taking control of Congress this month. McCarthy led the GOP steering committee, placed Green on two panels that would give her a platform to attack Biden, who is expected to seek re-election. They may also give her an opportunity to repair relationships frayed by her support for McCarthy. Yeah. Cool. Alright, folks. I think I have time for one more. So let's just do this. In the face of sky-high rents, President Biden is rolling out a new set of principles the White House is calling Renters' Bill of Rights. Or, just solve the housing problem at the root, but whatever. In an effort to improve rent affordability and protection for tenants. The president is directing the Federal Housing Finance Agency to examine limits on rent increases for future investments, i.e., rent control for future investments and action promoting renter protection. So FTC and the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau have been tapped to root out practices that are unfairly prevent applicants and tenants from accessing or staying in housing. Oh boy. Yeah. Okay. This rollout comes as progressive Dems have asked Biden to direct different agencies, including the FTC, to limit rent increases. While rent control is common in some cities, there has never been a federal residential rent control. Nearly 50 progressive lawmakers, including... Wait, 50 progressive lawmakers? Okay. Press X to doubt. McCarthy's so stupid, the party had the chance to distance itself from Trump and MTG, and now he enables them. Yeah, he is them. The Republican Party is the party of Trump. Nearly 50 progressive lawmakers, including Senator Elizabeth Warren and AOC, sent a letter to... Yes, these two are the same. Yep, totally the same. Okay. Sent a letter to Biden earlier this month urging the president to take executive action to protect tenants from rising rent. In the absence of robust investments in fair and affordable housing, it is clear that additional timely executive action is needed to address the urgent issue of historically high rental costs and housing availability. Stop no-fault evictions for tenants that are in good standing. Yep. To address the urgent issue of historically high rental costs and housing instability, the lawmakers wrote, we urge your administration to pursue all possible strategies to end corporate price gouging in the real estate sector. Specifically, lawmakers had called on the president to direct the FTC to issue new regulations defining excessive rent increases and enforce actions against rent gouging, suggesting that suggestions that are aggressive than what the administration so far has put forth. The letter also asked to have the FHFA put in place rent protections for tenants living in properties financed with government-backed mortgage properties, which is more closely aligned with what the president outlined on Wednesday. In Wednesday's announcement, the administration also sought to rally state and local governments as well as the private sector to protect renters. The Wisconsin Housing Economic Development Authority and Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency, for instance, have agreed to cap annual rent increase to 5% per year for federal or state-subsidized affordable housing. In the private sector, the National Association of Realtors has also agreed to put on new resources towards property managers in their network to promote practices like advertising to prospective tenants that housing choice vouchers are accepted at their property, providing information about rental assistance, and using alternative credit scores for applicants without a detailed credit history. Okay, but like, why do you need a credit score to rent? But rent doesn't improve your credit score. Explain that one to me. I'm saying that because I'm being no-fault evicted and can't afford my rent anywhere. Yeah, that's some bullshit. SV Harkin, sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. Fundamentally, this is a capitalism problem. Joe Biden here is not going to solve the issue. Yeah. Despite Wednesday's action, Representative Jamal Bowman and Senator Warren think the actions fall short. Imagine like someone like fucking Senator Warren is thinking you're doing too little. Yeah. We believe that the administration can go significantly further to help tenants struggling to pay rent as soon as next week. We need actions that will urgently address skyrocketing housing costs, keep people housed, and rein in corporate profiteering. I've looked for... I mean, yeah, the problem is right here. Hello? I look forward to continuing to work with the Biden administration on this issue. Bowman said he plans to work with colleagues in Congress to work on legislation to address high rents. In advance of receiving the letter, the White House held several conversations with staff of Representative Bowman and Senator Warren's office about ensuring rental markets are fair and affordable for renters. I mean, like, the problem with these type of markets, inevitably they're susceptible to market failure. For one, you don't have a choice, right? You need a place to live. You need a house for a number of reasons. It's not like an option, really. Really. Yeah, the rental market never goes down. Yep. Most people are still going to be pushed out of areas where they live, and many seniors are becoming homeless and living in their cars. Yep. Yeah, not just seniors. People with full-time jobs too. People with literal full-time jobs living in their cars. The argument is that rent hikes which are not proportional to higher costs for the landlord are unfair or deceptive. Analysts are skeptical that the FTC could impose rent controls, and the courts could uphold these policies if put in place. The Supreme Court is more conservative. It is less inclined to let agencies assert authorities that Congress did not explicitly give them. This is a problem with that original ruling that we talked about earlier with the EPA. Congress never empowered the FTC to limit how much residential rents may increase, said Cowen analyst Jared Seiberg in a recent note. It is why we'd expect the courts to reject this type of regime. Seiberg also questioned how a federal regime would actually work, given costs vary from city to city and buildings may get remodeled or upgraded. The FTC is a relatively small agency. We don't see how it could account for all this in a way that could survive court challenges. While legislation could accomplish this, Seiberg said that he doesn't see Congress adopting federal rent control either. Cool. Rent prices rose 7.45% over a year in November, according to the latest available data from Rent Report, the slowest annual rise over the last 15 months. Still, this increase is more than triple the 2.2 annual increase seen during the same month 2 years ago. Huh. Interesting. Luckily, my cousin will let me live in his garage if I need to, but it's in the middle of nowhere in Ohio, and my job is in Boston. Jesus. Yikes. Housing should be free. True. That's some bullshit, ask me Harkin. Anyways, food, housing, education, and healthcare. Yeah. I can't really expect Biden to do much here, unfortunately. I can't really expect Biden to do much here. I mean, like, the problem is obvious. Jamal Bowman literally pointed it out. It's the capitalism. Also utilities, including internet. Yeah. Oh, that's part of housing. Yes. Alright, folks. I've got to get going. It is past 7 o'clock. Folks, before I go, if you guys enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button on your way out. You get 6 free emotes. And also, if you guys want to go above and beyond in supporting this channel that doesn't involve money, head on over to the YouTubes. Hit the big red subscribe button. We are at 211 subs. Look at that. If you want to keep up with the channel, don't forget to join the Discord. We do updates there. Before I go, also, thank you to all the new follows. Thank you to all the support. Thank you for all the subscriptions. Thank you guys. You guys are what makes this grow. Make sure you follow some of these wonderful folks in chat. Twitch.tv/carpetpacks. Twitch.tv/AlioShare. They're wonderful folks here in the chat. I appreciate it. See you in the next one. Thank you, Cosmic Seeking. I appreciate you hanging out. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya. Let's go hang out with Hildebeest. Thank you, Michael Hassler. I appreciate it. Thank you for modding in the chat. All right, folks, we're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.